Good afternoon, dear students. So in this video we are going to see about aims and objectives of teaching English as a second language. So this topic comes under unit 2, aims and objectives of teaching English in India. So aims and objectives seems to be the same term, but both are not same. They are different in similar concept. Like aims are the ultimate aim. Ultimate aim means aims are the target which you are going to achieve. That is aim. When it comes to objective, it is something like short term goal. Through those short term goal you can achieve your target. So only through objective you can achieve the aim. So aim is nothing but it is a long term goal, and objective is nothing but it is a short term goal. Teaching becomes much effective and more systematic only when the teacher is fully aware of the aims and objectives of teaching. So once you are going to become a good, effective and efficient teacher, so you should know the aims and objectives of teaching that particular subject. Only after knowing the aims and objectives of that particular subject, you can achieve or you can accomplish your teaching job in an effective and efficient manner. So the aims are divided into two categories. One is general aim, the other one is specific aim. So when it comes to general aim, that is nothing but in English we have four basic language skills, that is listening, speaking, reading and writing. So these are the four basic language skills which a student should achieve. So the general aim will achieve these four basic aims, that is listening skill, reading skill, speaking skill and writing skill. And this general aim are divided into two types. One is receptive and the other one is expressive. What is the two things? Receptive and the other one is expressive. So receptive skill means that is the skill through which you can receive things. The skill through which you can receive things, it is called as receptive skill. So among the four skills, that is listening, speaking, reading and writing, so which will come under receptive skill? So after doing what skill, you will receive something. For example, if you read something, you will receive something. So if you listen to someone, you will receive something. So that listening and reading comes under receptive skill. So the next is expressive skill. So expressive skill means through which you will be able to express. So if you speak something, you are going to express. If you are writing something, you are going to express. So that speaking and writing will fall under expressive skill. So the four basic skills are classified into two types. One is receptive and the other one is expressive. So listening and reading falls under receptive skill. Speaking and writing falls under expressive skill. Next is specific aim. So we have seen what is general aim. General aim is nothing but the four basic language skills: listening, speaking, reading and writing, and that four skills will come under receptive skill and expressive skill. Okay, so the next one is specific aim. So in specific aim we are classifying them into three level, that is primary level, secondary level and higher secondary level. So in primary level, what is the major aim of a teacher? So the major aim of the teacher are as follows. For example, to expose the students to 26 letters of alphabets. So the first and foremost aim of a primary school teacher is to expose the students to the 26 letters of English alphabets. So we have to teach them all the 26 letters of English alphabets. And the second one is to familiarize them with the 44 distinct sounds of a language. So you know very well that English has 26 letters and English has 44 distinct sound. Okay, so among them how many vowel sounds and how many consonant sounds? Okay, I hope you all know all these things. Among them we have 20 vowel sound and 24 consonant sound. Again, under the 20 vowel sound are classified into 12 pure vowel and 8 diphthongs. Okay, so the 44 sounds are classified into 20 vowel sound and 24 consonant sound. So this is the second aim of primary level. teachers. And the third one is to help them learn sufficient number of active vocabulary. So again, active vocabulary and vocabulary is divided into two things. One is active vocabulary and the other one is passive vocabulary. The vocabulary which we are using in our day-to-day life are called as active vocabulary. So you have to help the students to learn sufficient number of active vocabulary. So you should make them to use the words which they are learning every day. Okay, and then the fourth one is to provide them a lot of ear training to understand correct pronunciation. So as teachers, you have to give lots and lots of ear training exercises. Ear training means you can write some words on the blackboard and make them to read all those words in group or individual or chorus reading, whatever it is, whichever is comfortable for the classroom, you can make use of it. Okay, and the last one is to write simple sentence on their own without any grammatical errors. So as primary teachers, you have to make them to write simple sentences, very very simple sentence without any grammatical errors. So in the beginning stage itself, you have to teach them to write simple sentence without any grammatical mistakes. So these are the aims of primary level, and we will see the secondary and tertiary in the next slide. The aims of secondary level teachers are to provide mastery over structures and vocabulary. To provide mastery over structures and vocabulary means you have to, as teachers, you have to provide different structures of sentences to the students and also different types of vocabulary for the students. So you have to give lots and lots of sentences and words for practice inside the classroom. And the second aim is to enable the students to read with comprehension. So you have to enable them to read with comprehension. You should not simply make them to read. You have to make them to read with understanding. Okay. And then the third one is to enable them to speak and write competently. So this is the common aim which comes under in most of the classes and most of the areas. So to enable them to speak and write competently, as English teachers, you have to make your students to communicate well, both in oral and also in written form. Okay. And the last one is to provide more ear training to respond to short conversational questions. So in your classroom, you have to give lots of ear training, means you should speak something and make the students to listen, or else you should create a short conversation and your students should respond to those short conversations. So such kind of activities should be included inside the classroom to develop the English language among the students. And next is aims in higher secondary level. So this is the third level of the aims. In this, the first one is to enable them to speak English fluently and accurately. So in higher secondary level, you have to make your students to speak fluently without stuttering or stammering, or you should enable them to speak fluently without any mistakes in English. It can be grammatical mistakes or it can be sentence structure, whatever it is. So you have to make your students to speak fluently and also accurately. Okay. And the second one is to initiate into extensive reading, to read books with understanding. So you should encourage your students to read so many books. So you should create the habit of reading among your students. So you should create an interest towards reading habit. Okay, so for that you should read some books inside your classroom, and that reading will motivate your students to read on their own, or else you should give the advantages of reading some books. What are the benefits will we get after reading a book? So such kind of things should be spoken inside the classroom. Through that, your students may get some motivation and they can start reading. So you have to initiate the extensive reading. Extensive reading means reading some novels, magazines, newspapers, etc. Okay, the third one is to acquire vocabulary of around 2500 words. So normally you should make your students to learn 2500 active vocabulary. Okay, you can learn, so you will be having so many words in you. Okay, if you will be having so many words in you, but the 2500 words are active vocabulary. Those 2500 words you should use it in your day-to-day life. Okay, that is called as active vocabulary. Passive vocabulary means I know that particular word, but I will not be using it in my day-to-day life. So active vocabulary means you know the word, you know the meaning of the word, and also you will be using it in your day-to-day life. So okay, so as this is the major aim of higher secondary level. You should make your students to use those 2500 vocabularies in their day-to-day life. Okay, and the next one is to write simple and correct English. This is common thing. And the next one is to acquire command over functional grammar. So there are two types of grammar: formal grammar and functional grammar. These things we can see later. So I will give you just what is formal grammar and functional grammar. So there are two types of teaching grammar. One is formal way, and then the other one is functional way. Formal way means teaching the rules first and then giving the examples. That is formal grammar. So the teacher will be telling you the rules and regulations of the particular grammar, and then examples will be given. That is formal. So functional grammar is nothing but modern way of teaching grammar. In modern way of teaching grammar, the teacher will be giving examples. The teacher will be giving sentences first, and then from those sentences the teacher will be telling this is the subject, this is the verb, this is the object or a complement or whatever it is. Okay, so the examples will be given first, and then from the examples the rules will be derived. That is functional grammar. So in this level, you should make your students to familiarize with functional grammar. Okay, and then the last one is to enable them to read books, magazines, newspaper, etc. And also you have to encourage them to refer some materials like encyclopedia, dictionary, thesaurus, and online resources. So you should encourage your students to read books and also to refer some materials, both book or internet resources. These are the aims of teaching English as a second language. And you can have a question: what is primary level, what is secondary level, and what is higher secondary level? So primary level is nothing but it is the primary level of the student. Primary level means maybe some first standard to 8th standard, first standard to 8th standard, that is primary level. And from 8th to 10th, secondary level. And higher secondary level means, you know very well, +1, +2 or college or whatever it is. So these are the aims of teaching English as a second language. Next is functions of language. So the language plays 4 different functions, that is informative function, expressive function, directive function, and performatory function. So these are the functions of a language. So what is informative function? So informative function means, so language is used to pass information. Language is used to pass information. So through language you can pass information from one particular person to other person. So that is informatory function. And the most familiar function of language is informative because it transmits information. Okay. Next is expressive function. So in expressive function, through language you can express your thoughts, feelings, emotions, etc. So the ideas, feelings, and emotions of a person can be expressed through a language. Okay, and language has its aesthetic aspects also. You can see aesthetic aspects means, literature students will know. Aesthetic sense means the sense of beauty, the sense of pleasure, whatever it is. So you can see in poems. So in poems the author will be expressing their feelings, emotions through the words, through the language. So that's why English language plays a function like expressive function. Expressive function means whatever you have inside your mind or heart or whatever it is, you will be expressing them through a language. Okay, and then the next is directive function. Directive function means through the language you can give directions to other. Directions to other means, for example, in an examination hall there will be some signboard do not make noise, do not disturb others, so bring your own pen, pencil. So those things will be written on the notice board, or it will be placed somewhere in the examination hall. And that is a kind of function it plays, that particular information paper will be directing the students to do and to which are the things you should not do. Okay, do's and don'ts. Those do's and don'ts are given in a paper in the form of a language. So you just see that notice, and then you will be understanding. So these things I should do, and these things I should not do. So that is directive function. So if the language directs someone to do it or to not to do it. Okay, and the fourth one is performatory function. Performatory function means it can be asking us to perform something. So the words can be used as a kind of symbol or action, means it will ask us to do something or perform something. For example, so when I say thank you, or when I say welcome, or when I say I apologize for my mistake, so those things can be only asked through words. So for example, for thank you, what will you do? Do you have any action for thank you? Okay, so no, we don't have any action for thank you. So you should perform it with some language. Okay, so only through language you can do some performatory function, like saying thank you, apologies, or warning somebody, or yeah. For example, for something you will not be getting any gestures. So at that time you can use some words or languages to perform something. Okay, so these are the basic functions of a language. We have 4 functions: informatory function, expressive function, directive function, and performatory function. And next is role of English language. And English plays as a link language, English plays as a library language, English is also called as window on the west, English is an assert language. These headings we have already discussed in our previous video. Okay, once again I will give some recap about these headings. English as a link language means so through English will be linking English will be linking one person to other person, and it will link one country to other country, it will link one culture to other country's culture. So like this it will be linking from one group to other group. So because of that, English language is called as a link language. So it is linking. So for example, you can take our country. So we are in Tamil Nadu, and when we have a visitor from Kerala, that the person coming from Kerala does not know Tamil, and we does not know Malayalam. So what is the language which connect between us, we and them, is English language. Okay, so this is a small example for link language. So through English we are linking with the people of the other state. So likewise it is linking us in many ways. Not only in this people communication. English links us in so many ways: trade, economics, politics, lots and lots of technology. So in everything English plays a vital role. So it is called as a link language. And then English as a library language. Library language means in most of the books, most of the educational books, or most of the newspapers, magazines, or important news channels, all those things are in English language. Okay, so if you want any good books, okay, that good book will be in English only. Okay, so for translation, translated books will be there, but the effective source will be in English language. So English is called as a library language. Why? Because English has all the resources which is available or which is needed for the people. Okay, and then window on the west means, so English language plays as the role of a window on the west means western countries. So window, through, if you see through that window, you can see whatever things are happening in the western country or modern nation. Okay, so that's why it is called as window on the west. So if you see through English language, you can understand, or you can come to the point that whichever is happening around the globe. Okay, and then English as a assert language. What do you mean by assert? Assert means it is a kind of property, or it is a kind of valuable thing. So if you have English language, it is a huge assert for that individual. Okay, so he can go anywhere else in the world, or he can get any kind of job opportunity, or whatever it is. So if you know English, you are considered as a educated or well reputed person. If you don't know English, that is the thing which the society is what is that, framing. Okay, so these are the roles which English is playing around the globe, and we'll move on to the next slide. Next is objectives in teaching English as a second language, and we have different types of objectives, like understand English when spoken at normal and conversational speed. So understand English when it is spoken at normal and conversational speed means you should be able to understand English when it is spoken in a normal speed. Normal speed means you should recognize the words, you should recognize the phrases, you should recognize the sentence pattern, or you should understand the idea which is given there, and you should understand the relationship between the object, or you should understand the relationship between the person who are involved in that sentence, or you should understand the ideas or event which is occurring. So that is what the student understand English when spoken at normal conversational speed means the student should understand everything. So who's the speaker here, and what is the sentence pattern involved, what are the components involved, all those things should be understood by the student. Okay, the next is speak English correctly. So you should speak English correctly with the proper stress, pronunciation, intonation, etc. And also you should keep pause when you are speaking, and also you should present it in a logical and coherent way. Okay, and the third one is read aloud the passage and poems in correct English. So whenever you are reading, you should read aloud. You should read with correct pronunciation, and you should read with the proper accent, rhythm, and also you should read with stress, pause, intonation wherever needed, and you should read with reasonable speed and flow. Okay, and the fourth one is read English silently with comprehension. So when you are reading silently, you should read with comprehensional ability. You should be able to locate keywords, and you should be able to interrupt, or you should be able to analyze the main ideas of the passage, and you should be able to understand the mood of the author. So when you read silently, you'll be grasping all these things: mood, main ideas, and central ideas of the passage. So these things you'll be understanding when you are reading silently a passage. Okay, and the next is write English correctly. So you should write English correctly with correct spelling, and you should avoid unwanted repetition, and handwriting should be neat, and your writing speed should not be very fast, and also it should not be very slow. It should be in a average speed. So these are the things which you have to follow when you're writing correctly. And the next is acquire knowledge of the elements of English language. The elements of English language means stress, intonation, rhythm, and what is structural word, content word, sentence pattern, spelling, punctuation marks. So all these things are elements of English language. Okay, so you should acquire knowledge about the elements of English language. And the next is develop an interest in reading. So you should create an interest among the students. You should make them to read some poems. You should make them to read some prose. You should make them to participate in debate, conversation. You should make them to ask them to read newspapers. You should ask them to watch some televisions, news channels. You should make them to write some stories. So many things are there for developing interest of the students in English. So these are the major objectives of teaching English as a second language. So next is difference between learning the mother tongue and learning a foreign language. So learning a mother tongue and learning a foreign language is totally a different process, because both of them are not similar. Why? Because mother tongue, we are learning mother tongue from the childhood, and from the beginning we are learning our mother tongue. When we are born, we listen to the sounds of our parents, and we observe the imitation of our parents. And when it comes to foreign language, it is a different thing which we learn after getting into the schools. Okay, so that's why there is some difference between learning a mother tongue and learning a foreign language. For example, the first one is process of learning. The process of learning itself different. Why? Because learning a mother tongue is a natural process, as the learning take place in a natural way. From the birth, the child is surrounded by an atmosphere of mother tongue. From the birth, the child is surrounded by an atmosphere of mother tongue, and the child started observing how the parents are speaking mother tongue. And on the other hand, learning a foreign language is an artificial process. Mother tongue is a natural process. Learning a foreign language is an artificial process, as the child does not want it to express any of his needs in a foreign language. So if the child wants some water in the home, it will not ask, "Mommy, get me some water." Okay, so the child will be asking it, "Amma thanni kudunga." They will be asking it in their mother tongue, not in foreign language. So they will be speaking in English only in some schools, only in the schools. Okay, not in their home. So you have to create such atmosphere if you want to make them if you want them to speak good English, or if you want to develop their English language skill. The next one is the environment. So the child learns the mother tongue in a natural environment. He is surrounded by a number of teachers, like parents and relatives and friends. So the child learns mother tongue through the parents, friends, relatives, etc. So that whenever the child is making some error, there are some people who are helping them to correct. But the foreign language is taught in an artificial environment, and the child gets an opportunity to listen to the language only in the classroom, not in some other places. Only in the classroom the child has an opportunity to listen, not in home, not in playground, not with friends. So the atmosphere plays a very important role in learning a foreign language. So you have to create the environment, create the perfect environment where you can learn good English language. Okay, the next is the situation. So again the child learns mother tongue in the existing situation, but when it comes to foreign language, you have to create situation. There are no readily available situation. You have to create situation for learning the foreign language. And then the next is the state of mind. The state of mind means the child mental ability, or the child psychological background. So when the child is learning the mother tongue, the child mind is empty. So in an empty mind you can feel anything, but after learning the mother tongue, the child will be having lots of confusion when it is learning a foreign language. So language, not Tamil and English language are not similar. Both are different. English have different alphabets, and Tamil language has different alphabet. English have different sounds, and Tamil have different sounds. English have different rules and regulations, and even Tamil have different rules and regulations. Likewise, both of them are not similar. So the child will be having lots of problem in learning both the language. So the state of mind should be at ease. The state of mind should be in a peaceful way, so that the child can learn happily. Okay, so these are the areas through which the child will be having problems in learning a mother tongue, and difficulty in learning a foreign language. So in this video we have seen some introduction about unit number 2, aims and objectives of teaching English, and functions of language, and difference between learning a mother tongue and a foreign language, problems and areas of difficulty where we will be facing in learning a foreign language. Thank you.